Across the government contracting industry, few firms or divisions within firms grow explosively. How do the organizations that consistently beat the competition do it, and how can you be one of them? This is Ed Salzberg, president of ERS Advisors. In this free 20-minute video, I introduce you to 11 elements essential to consistently growing government revenue. These elements are part of the bid decision framework that I help corporate managers implement in their organizations to win more government contracts and spend less money doing it. Download the checklist you received with the video and have it ready to gauge the competitiveness of your company's business acquisition program as you watch this video. These tactics took me years to learn in the competitive trenches as a senior officer in some of the industry's fastest growing companies, like powerhouses SAIC, DynCorp, now CSC, SRA International, and the world's leading private research and development firm, Battelle Memorial Institute. After 30 years in this business, I used that experience to help government contractors learn how to bid and win more often and compete successfully against the best firms in the business. I found from experience that the leading government contractors have one thing in common. They are all masters at implementing the essential 11 elements. As a result, their revenue profiles have short treads and steep risers. That means they bid and win more often than the average firms in the business. Learn what I teach about these tactics, and you will have gained the knowledge to help get your organization on a much stronger growth path. What you learn can also accelerate your career. Your firm may have a business acquisition process in place, but your growth is still lagging. Why? In my experience, it's because too often the request for proposal is released before your capture teams have all of the competitive information needed to make an informed bid decision. As a result, your firm is continually forced to make bid decisions based on insufficient information, while the industry leaders are well ahead of you. The essential 11 elements anchor my systematic approach to business acquisition. At its heart is my bid decision pyramid, a trademarked framework for positioning firms to win contracts. The decision framework organizes contract pursuits into a set of maturity stages that clarifies the process of winning. The pyramid and the 11 elements give capture teams the tools to qualify opportunities much more quickly, and management a way to make informed bid, no bid decisions that will increase win rates and lower capture costs. The hard part of government contracting is what you and your staff do for your clients in the company every day, which is delivering technical excellence to clients and good leadership to your organizations. Winning contracts also depends on technical excellence, but the difference between winning and losing is often much simpler things such as relationships, sticking with basic management principles like a decision framework to make bid pursuits focus on getting the right competitive information in the right order, as well as tactics to properly stage capture activities and ensure internal deadlines are met. So the good news is, if you want to outcompete your current competition or set up your business acquisition program to compete with larger or more experienced firms, that's not the hardest challenge you face. It only takes attention to 11 essential elements that I briefly discuss in this recording. Pull out the checklist you downloaded with the video and check the elements that you believe your firm addresses. Then use the checklist as a guide to the material I'm about to cover. I provide guidance in the video on how to judge your company's program and whether or not to check a box. When you finish watching the video, go back to the checklist and see if you need to check or uncheck any of the boxes. Essential Element 1, Business Development Health Measures. I had a graduate school professor who continually said that you don't know much about something unless you can measure it. There are probably lots of counterexamples, but this caution does apply to business development. I use 5 indicators that measure BD heart rate, lung capacity, temperature, muscle mass, and blood flow. The first measure is firm contract backlog, which is the revenue from existing sources. It doesn't include revenue from bids and other sales activities, so it has to fall off over time. The slope or speed of the decline measures the urgency of the business development program. You can see why I label one of the firms relaxed and the other frantic. 3 of the measures address the status of the firm's bid pipeline. The bid decision pyramid illustrates the relationship among the pipeline measures. Leads backlog is a measure of early stage 1 and 2 bid qualification activities, and is an indication of the vitality of the firm's marketplace, assuming it has a good way to identify leads. Qualified leads backlog measures business activity in the later stages of bid pursuit, stages 3 and 4. The key word is qualified, which means implementing the rest of the essential 11 elements. Qualified leads backlog measures the vibrancy or the degree of productive activity of the business development program. Qualified proposal backlog measures the value of submitted bids that have been vetted through the bid decision stages. Qualified proposal backlog measures the stability of the BD program because it's where the revenue replacement and growth will come from. Sales efficiency is the fifth measure, and it isn't a backlog calculation, but a return on investment index. Listen for how the 5 backlog measures support many of the other essential elements. Check element 1 on the checklist if your company has criteria to gauge the health of its business development program. Essential element 2, the amount of bidding needed to meet financial goals. Budgeting is one of management's most important business responsibilities. Too few bids and you won't have enough activity to meet your goals. Too many and resources may be spread too thin to win many competitions. The number of bids is determined by your company's growth goal, backlog guidelines, and sales efficiency. In addition, the quality of your firm's bid list and the efficiency of its BD processes directly impact how many bids and of what size it needs each year to meet its growth goals. Remember my professor who said, if you can't measure something, you don't know much about it. I developed the set of health measures not because I'm into methods development, but because as a line manager, I needed a basis for making my business decisions, such as tying the number of bids to financial goals. Check element 2 on the checklist if your company has a way to link BD investments with financial goals. Essential element 3, resource allocation. How much should your firm spend on refreshing the pipeline and on each subsequent stage of that pipeline? The answer is enough to keep your pipeline backlog numbers at or above targets or benchmarks developed from company and market characteristics. I use multipliers of revenue to base the benchmarks. From experience, I have found that between 2 and 5 times company revenue work for most federal contractors, which is a wide range, so my initial task with new clients focuses on developing valid benchmarks from company and marketplace data. This graph is a backlog profile for an example firm I use to illustrate why backlogs are so useful and important in budgeting and getting the most return from business development investments. The values show how well the firm's business development is doing against the backlog measures. A value of 100% means the sum of the values of the opportunities meet the benchmark for that backlog measure. At 99% and 105%, this organization has a firm contract backlog and a qualified proposal backlog at or above their benchmarks. That's healthy in the near and medium term. However, its pipeline weakens sharply from there. See that its qualified leads backlog is a concerning 50% of the benchmark. The more significant problem is the activity in the leads backlog, which is the on-ramp to the pipeline. It's only 11% of the benchmark, which means the firm faces a financial cliff in a few years if that isn't improved quickly. The backlogs can be used as a definitive guide to where business acquisition resources should be allocated. If firm contract backlog is low, you'll need to focus on more proposals. If qualified proposal backlog is low, increase spending on bid qualification. If qualified leads backlog is low, you need to do more prospecting, and if leads backlog is low, the focus should be on diversifying markets and services. If sales efficiency is low, your capture and bid and proposal process is probably not disciplined or systematic, and that won't beat the experienced firms. Your firm should assess its capture process, especially its decision framework. Check element 3 on the checklist if your company uses bid pipeline metrics to allocate business development resources. Essential element 4, pipeline quality, establishing a meaningful bid list. The bid pipeline starts with initial identification of opportunities to prime the business acquisition pump, and you prune the list as you discover more about each opportunity. A meaningful pipeline has sufficient prospects at the beginning, so you are left with enough bids at the end of the pipeline to meet financial goals. Remember essential element 2 about determining the number and value of bids to pursue. Clearly, the quality of your prospects directly determines the number of qualified proposals the firm can develop, which directly impacts growth. As a generalization, it takes about 20 leads entering the pipeline to get 4 well-qualified bids out of it. Bid identification is one of a firm's most important responsibilities, a job for senior professionals. Yet many of my clients had delegated that responsibility to junior and sometimes administrative staff. Assigning a seasoned professional to lead bid prospecting will provide an immediate boost to your BD program. After 30 years, I still take the time myself to scan through subscription and free bid sources for my clients. Garbage in, garbage out certainly applies to the bid pipeline. Check element 4 on the checklist if your company makes bid prospecting a senior staff responsibility. Essential element 5, bid pursuit information, getting program versus business information. A few years ago, a pretty senior staff member asked at one of my training sessions what questions I asked when marketing new clients. I turned the question around and asked what she thought to be important. She came up with this list about data gaps, methods, and constraints. She was focusing on client programmatic needs and a discussion that might lead to getting a task order. Here are a few important competitive questions I responded with to qualify opportunities. They include the position of any incumbents, our standing with the client, and identifying the leaders and decision makers in the office. These questions focus on the client's contract needs and guide a discussion that can lead to winning a contract. It isn't hard to understand the difference between the program questions that she was asking and the competitive questions I asked. However, many technical staff don't necessarily know that difference without having it pointed out to them. Also, many technical staff are not comfortable asking these types of competitive questions and often need help getting past that reluctance. Check element 5 if your firm provides staff with guidance and help on how to get the right competitive information. Essential element 6, the bid decision framework, making no bid decisions before eroding resources. In the end, you need all of the right competitive information to make a fully informed decision to bid in a contract. However, you don't need all of that information to make a no-bid decision. Knowing which information to get first will lead to several early no-bid decisions. That conserves resources which can be directed to better pursuits. One reason SAIC has grown to $10 billion is its process to make early no-bid decisions and not waste money. Once an opportunity that the firm can perform is identified, the first bid pursuit question to answer is whether the competitive playing field is level, or if a firm such as the incumbent is a shoo-in for the award. If the playing field is not level, and that can't be changed in a reasonable amount of time, stop right there, because no other questions matter, so it isn't worth spending money to answer them. No bid and move on. Firms that address element 6 well leap ahead of their competition. Check element 6 on the checklist if your company has a way to drop low probability bids early in order to conserve resources. Essential element 7, pipeline velocity, keeping bids from languishing on the bid list. You may know what information is needed to make informed bid decisions, but that's only half of a capture team's responsibilities. They also have to get that information in time for the organization to be fully prepared for the proposal. If RFPs are consistently issued before your capture teams are done qualifying opportunities, focus on applying management tools to speed up that process. I like to stage 3 go, no-go reviews to give capture teams deadlines for answering competitive questions in the right competitive order. These are sometimes called gate or step reviews. It's important that top management attend these reviews so that capture teams respect and meet schedules and deadlines. That's the way to keep bids flowing like a river through the bid pipeline rather than languishing in a pool. I use a variety of methods to make the status of the bid pipeline visible to management. A great technique I use in my business acquisition tracker, the BAT, which is a data management system I designed for government contractors to control the bid pipelines, I call the BAT map. It shows the status of the entire bid pipeline in one visual. Each symbol is a lead, and its position on the BAT map indicates the maturity of the pursuit in relationship to the timing of the RFP release. Clearly, these bids are well positioned, and these are not. Check element 7 on the checklist if top management sets deadlines and also participates in major bid reviews. Essential element 8, teaming sabotage. Teaming done too early runs the risk of locking in the wrong subcontractors, and done too late might lose the right ones. Teaming is an art, not a science, and there's no single way to do it right. Teaming must be a constant topic in all bid review meetings and capture team meetings. When management can't think of more questions to ask about which firm should be pursued, it's time to finalize the teaming. A good way to guide the teaming decisions is to develop a theory of the team, which is a brief statement of the rationale for each subcontractor slot. Good reasons for including a slot is the need for more client relationships, special skills or tools, added depth, and other real differentiators. Only add subcontractors that fit into the theory, because too many firms weakens the bid rationale. Check this element on the checklist if your firm develops a theory of the team or has a similar way to select subcontractors. Essential element 9, proposal readiness. Finding out if the proposal team is ready to go before the RFP is issued. So you're well positioned with the client office and you should be a shoo-in to win the contract. Break out the champagne. What a shame that many firms spend marketing resources effectively and deftly position their firm to win, only to lose because they were not fully prepared to begin the proposal effort. It takes both positioning with the client and competitors and readiness to write the proposal to be the successful bidder. How can you be sure you won't waste a great marketing effort on a poor proposal? I've found that by far the number one test is to have the proposal manager draft an executive summary several weeks before the RFP is due out, even if it won't likely be required for the bid. If the proposal manager can't tell a compelling story before the RFP is issued, why would anyone think he or she can do that in the proposal? A poor initial summary is a big red flag that the proposal leader and probably the proposal team is not sufficiently prepared to start the effort. You want to know that before the RFP is issued, when you can take steps to get ready, rather than after the proposal effort has started, when it might be too late. Check element 9 in the checklist if your company tests the proposal team before RFP release. Essential element 10, red team scores. Getting high scores in internal proposal reviews. Poorly prepared drafts for internal reviews, red teams, unleash a series of serious issues that hamstring growth. They waste the time of expensive senior reviewers, miss the chance for serious critiques, and leave the proposal team scrambling to recover rather than adding creativity to the bid. Moreover, everyone involved in the red team is having a negative experience, which hurts company morale and is embarrassing if subcontractors are participating. Firms that always get off to bad proposal starts can't win consistently because government contracting is much too competitive. Insist that each red team chapter scores 80%, and the reviewers can focus on providing important guidance rather than wasting their time struggling with a non-compliant, difficult to understand and score document. In the final days of the proposal, the writers will be working on polishing a good draft rather than panicking to get a poor one merely into compliance in time for submission. It takes the same amount of time to write a good chapter, whether you do it early or late in the proposal effort. Do it early and red teams will be positive experiences for everyone involved. Setting a high red team bar will lower proposal costs and increase win rates. Check element 10 on the checklist if your company insists on minimum review draft scores. Essential element 11, extra spice, improving your competitive position after proposal submission. There isn't a lot you could do to influence the proposal process once the bid is in. However, on the margin, you might sway the decision in a dead heat by adding something extra that is distinctive for the government reviewers during proposal evaluation. For example, if you include a contract startup plan in the bid, you could also commit to a few pre-award decision enhancements at your risk, since you haven't won the contract at this point. For example, commit to a formal pre-award staff orientation session so you will hit the ground running should you be the successful bidder. When you complete the orientation, send a confirming note to the contract officer so he or she knows you are fulfilling that commitment. Adding an extra unexpected spice into your proposals, like this example, won't hurt and might help in a few instances. Winning one extra contract a year for whatever reason is one key to explosive growth. Trust me on this, the industry leaders have ways to squeeze an extra win out of their pipeline each year, like we did at SAIC and SRA. A surprise commitment could make that one contract difference. Check element 11 on the checklist if your company seeks ways to improve its bid chances in proposal evaluation. Now that you've been through the session, I hope you've used the checklist to rate your firm's business acquisition program based on the essential 11 elements. Do you need to make any changes from your initial assessment? You can use the checklist now to focus on the elements that your firm needs to improve. In this video, I've given you a brief overview of the principles I use to help clients grow. I think you'll agree that they are common sense, however, they are not always common knowledge. Remember, it's the simple concepts that often make the difference between winning and losing, and the essential 11 elements are simple concepts. But understanding them is only part of the challenge. The real work is in knowing how to incorporate them on specific bid pursuits and use them to firm up the firm's business acquisition program. From my experience in the past several years consulting with the C-level of firms in a variety of government markets, executives face a range of challenges implementing a disciplined approach to business development, even if they have a good system in place. I consult directly with executives on business acquisition and also offer a 3-hour online training course for management that can help you improve your program. The training provides explicit guidance to executives, line managers, and capture teams. It integrates the essential 11 into a total government business acquisition training in only 3 hours. It's the simplicity of the essential 11 elements that enables me to cover so much ground in such a short period of time. In the training, you will also see how I develop the measures. The purchase includes this backlog calculator that viewers can download and use as an aid to applying the measures to their organizations. The training shows how I've been able to get bid decision processes aligned, accepted, and working by starting at the top and getting consensus and commitment ingrained down the organization. The training covers modifying existing database management systems or adopting commercial offerings such as my business acquisition tracker, the BAT. Click on the link to buy the individual training and contact us by email or call if you are interested in a corporate license. This is Ed Salzberg, and I hope this free video session met your expectations. Sign up for my 3-hour training and you can immediately help increase your organization's revenue profile. I also invite you to participate in my Win More Work blog at www.ersadvisors.com, where I host discussions about how to win government contracts. If you have suggestions about today's video, or if you're interested in our services working with clients on improving their business acquisition results, or interested in our business acquisition tracker, contact us at info@ersadvisors or call me directly at 703-992-3848. And I thank you for taking the time to watch this video.